Hello guys, hope all is well. I'm going to do a video about just what I'm looking for on the markets and kind of talk about this week. So dollar, if you've been watching my previous videos, you will know that I was expecting price to come into this 4 hourly zone and potentially have some moves back up to the top side. I do want to see if we can break just this high. That's going to give me a little bit more confirmation. But I said when we broke this area, I was looking for a potential pullback, even to this zone, and then back down into this 4 hourly zone. So you can see we actually got that really, really nice. We are actually having some sort of reactions now. So it's going to be the case of, are we going to do something like this? Or are we going to potentially kind of start heading a little bit south and potentially come fill somewhere in here? But for this time being, I'm just going to go with my original bias, which is for price to come back up and then potentially start heading back up. With that in mind, Euro, USD, honestly, nothing really on this pair for me. We came right up into our last like 5 minute zone in here. So now it's probably for me just going to be looking for potential moves in and around off here. We are bullish. We are bullish, as you can see. We are breaking structures higher. But I do want to see if we are actually going to get some more prime moves. I know Euro USD has been kind of breaking lower, then breaking high. They're coming back down lower, then breaking high. So this is kind of a bit in the air. So I'm not really focused on this pair too much. But I do want to see kind of what happens with it. So for the time being, I'm going to leave Euro to the side. US 30, really great week on US 30. Started off with a 15-minute demand zone, which I called out in the group. Price then ran all the way to the top side. I said I wanted to look for to see if we were going to get a test of this zone. You can see had a test of my stop loss was here. Had a test of this zone, and then we had that news release, and then price kind of ran and chopped back down. Then I got second entries. We had a zone in here that was invalidated. So this is our new supply line because this has all been tested. Looking for a test of this zone, and you can see prices come down now, and we're breaking structures, and we are actually kind of just heading back down. So US 30 has absolutely been rinsed this week. But when there's opportunities, why not rinse them? So this was a really good opportunity. And probably could expect further downside movement on this pair. We did, in fact, come into a high time frame zone up in here. And like I said before in a previous video, this is all one big distribution. Now, we are pushing lower. I could see price coming down massively deeper, potentially into areas like this, because we still have some imbalance and still have some potential mitigation zones. I know we do have a nice bit of imbalance in and around this zone, so that could be a nice target for us. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to highlight all of that zone, just to tell me that this is where I would potentially look to be selling from. So getting into the entries before, it was literally simple: low, lower high, lower low, break a structure, looking for the area that kind of caused that break. This was that. We came in, tested, and then we continued back down low. Price has now created equal lows for us down in here. There we are, equal lows. So what I'm really kind of looking for is a potential run on these lows. Whether we're going to get that today, whether we're going to get tomorrow, I'm not too sure. But for the time being, I'm just going to delete these off just because they're not really needed at the moment. I did actually close out the one that was in here, still running this one. But for the time being and for this video purpose, I'm just going to delete them. So going on to next week, we have a few zones. Now we've actually broken structures here. Just looking for the zone that caused that. You can see we had a small run on these highs up in this point here. Now I'm potentially either looking for this higher zone or either this zone here, and this is actually a 2 hourly zone. So we can map out this 2 hourly zone because this was important zone because this is one that kind of shifted and broken structures. I'm just going to delete this off. Now I'm going to move this new entry point into here because this is technically what mitigated that news release. So because we've had that mitigation of that news release, I know that there's potentially orders still up in here, and we do still have imbalances in and around this zone, which I am looking for. So I'm really kind of either looking for move like this or a move like this to then actually just continue everything lower with the momentum. So potential two ideas that I'm looking out for on US30. I'm going to be potentially looking for daily today. Right. Okay, cool. So I'm going to be looking here. This is my first POY, 12 pips. I know this says 120. In my opinion, this is actually not 120. If you used a one lot size on this, it's going to be, you're going to be down $120 or £120, whatever. Second entries here, again, around 12 pips. Nice to see. Still, I'm actually only going to lay my targets out just here, but I do have the idea and understanding that price could definitely run lower. So with the idea and everything that price could run lower, I'm just going to have my target there and actually just let it run. We could very well see that. What we even could see is, even though this is bearish structures, high time frame we are bullish, obviously, but here we did break, but we didn't break. And for me, I don't really like to class this as a break above, only because when I see a break above, I like to see an actual break trade below to then actually continue. And here, this is actually just one big distribution, which actually tested. And I do think that this is just a liquidation. If we drop it on the daily, you can see, whoops, you can see that this high got ran, then this one got ran, then this one got ran. Then this was our major kind of final move. We had liquidity here, we ran it, and then we continued. So we really, really could potentially come from either of those two zones, or we do have this daily zone up here, which in fact we could get him. But for the time being, I'm not really going to worry about that too much for the time being. I'm going to be focusing on these two zones. If we do in fact run out this high, then I will potentially be looking for zones up here. But until that happens, I'm really just going to kind of sit and wait on my hands just until we get a little bit more confirmation. But I'm just going to be going with the trend. The trend is bearish so far at the moment. So I am just going to really wait and see kind of what happens with these pairs going in to the New York session. So that's going to be quite interesting to see. NAS, I looked for a trade opportunity off this 15-minute. I did actually have another idea that we could run this 5-minute zone here. We actually ran into that 5-minute zone on the daily. We did exactly what I said we were going to do. This daily high that I was waiting for. You can see we ran that. So now you can see momentum is kind of just pretty much bearish. I really could see quite a big rollover on this pair. For the time being, I'm not really seeing anything too clean that I really want to look to trade from. I mean, like, yes, we can potentially look at zones in here, but I'm seeing this as potential like equal highs. We could maybe run a little bit deeper into this zone. So I am going to just wait for a break, like a pullback. I'm going to look for like buy to sell. Then we can actually get in on that, because I think a lot of this could actually be run. We are technically bullish high time frame. We didn't break above this zone yet, but I could potentially see this on the daily being kind of like that buy to sell limit. So I got my first zone of point of interest that I'm looking for, which is this 4-hourly zone in here. You can see this is the point where price, in fact, we ran a nice little doji in there, breaker structure, looking for this zone. I am overall looking for kind of this low to be taken. Once we do take out that low, that's going to be a lot more confirmation for me in the trade. But I am just going to let this kind of run. Do have potential final targets down here at 57 pips. So that is going to be quite interesting to see what happens here. Euro pound. Euro pound, in my opinion, nothing really that juicy. We ran up higher, came into this 4-hourly zone. So far, I'm personally not going to be looking for any buys. I don't like the liquidity resting here, and I don't like these lows here. What I was looking for is we do have a nice distribution here. This is our nice distribution. I believe it's on a 30-minute. Yeah, so this last 30-minute up move that news got released, there wasn't anything really clean other than this kind of small bit, but I knew we could run these highs. So I did think going into London, we were going to potentially come up, was going to maybe look to see if we could get in around like the 50% of this whole overall candle. We didn't get that. Price just rolled over. It's calm. But I do think these lows and everything in here is going to be our next target. So for just kind of that rollover, which happens. So that's going to be potentially nice to see, but bias is still short. Unless we raid and then we actually start breaking higher, that's when my bias will change. But I do want to see a run of everything that's resting here and actually start coming down a bit deeper into this zone. AU. AU is another trade that I was looking for. FOMC, we ran all of the highs. We actually came directly into this last final move. And if we follow this whole mitigation, you can see when price actually closed out that daily imbalance in here, we then filled this supply whilst running out all of the liquidity in here. We created a gap, which price then came up and filled. You can see we filled with this. So this was our last unmitigated zone. Yes, we did have this, but that got ran. That's fine. And then we came into this zone in here. So you can see we came right back into that zone, raided all the highs, and now we're actually kind of pushing back down. So I'm kind of looking for a couple points of interest, mainly first point of interest being this kind of 2-hourly zone. Just in here, you can see major breaker structure. Oops, wrong tool. Major breaker structure here. So now I'm just kind of like US30, and now I'm just waiting for kind of that pullback so we can actually start potentially taking out these lows. I do want to see this Asian low get taken. So probably now going into next week, any form of pullback into these zones is going to be massively valid for what I'm looking for. And then that continuation and rolling over. Gold, nothing really too interesting, to be honest with you. If you got in on any of the run in here, amazing. I did call out ages ago, 2000 I think was going to be met. With everything that's kind of happening in the world at the moment, we never took out this previous high. So I'm going to call it, and I think in the future we could, or in not so far near future, we could definitely run out this high and then actually start potentially heading back down, because overall you can see we're bullish. We did actually break structures within this point, so I can imagine, and myself as everyone is looking at this zone, that was really nice distribution in here. We started collapsing. We didn't though. We do still have some lows in here. But before anything else happens, I really want to see a run of these two highs. That is all I'm kind of looking for. That was a bit of a rundown of what I was seeing for the future and of a recap kind of this week. If any of you guys got any questions, please let me know. Feel free to fire away and I will help you all as much as I can. All right, guys.